This video is sponsored by Epic Games. To this day, many people still believe that Unreal Engine should only be used by huge AAA studios, while solo developers and small indie teams should stick to other engines. But that actually couldn't be further from the truth. Especially over the last 5 years or so, we've seen many small teams utilize Unreal's amazing feature set to create and release extremely successful games that probably would have been very hard to realize in such a short time frame using a less robust engine. So in this video I want to give you a breakdown of some of these features and show you why Unreal Engine 5 is great for indie developers. The first thing I want to highlight are the editor tools. While many people will point towards Unreal's amazing graphics as their reason for picking the engine, for me, the most important thing is the editor because it is what I'll be interacting with for multiple hours every single day. And in the case of Unreal, it enables me to get things done extremely fast. First, we just have the viewport and level editor, which feels very natural to control if you have any experience playing first-person shooters. You can simply drag around objects in the level using different snapping settings, and once you've made a few changes, you can just click the play button and instantly test how this affects your game, leading to an extremely fast iteration loop for level design and testing gameplay. Another thing I love is that most assets in Unreal get converted to UAsset files, which then come with their own editor window, so every texture, sprite or model you import gives you this exclusive view showing you all the properties that can be changed, which makes it easy for you to keep things separate in your head while working with many different asset types. Unreal also comes with special editors for materials and particle effects, featuring a node graph that enables you to set up different shaders with no need to type out shader code. This is great because it allows every artist on your team to create materials on their own without every single one of them having to be a technical artist, and the node graph being somewhat similar to blueprints also makes it less intimidating to get into for people that have experience programming with visual scripting interfaces. These materials can then be used together with the Niagara editor, which makes it easy to create great looking particle effects by utilizing some of the templates that it comes with. I'm not an artist by any means, and after only spending a day learning Niagara and playing around with the different settings, I was able to put together some pretty decent looking VFX for my JRPG. The last editors I want to highlight are the animation tools, which were added in an early version of Unreal Engine 5 and still keep evolving. These make it possible to rig and animate characters directly in the engine, making it a lot easier to get into for people that already are familiar with Unreal, rather than having to spend a couple of months learning Blender. Especially when you utilize Control Rig, you can put together amazing things right within the engine, either to create animations or even make your characters dynamically interact with different things in the game world. And all of the things I just talked about come together in a way that allows you to very easily switch between different tasks such as level design, editing particle effects, changing materials, or tweaking animations. And especially for solo developers or small teams where every member will wear different hats, that can save you a whole lot of time. As you probably already know, Unreal Engine enables you to easily make extremely beautiful games of various art styles. While I mostly focus on 2D 3D hybrids using 3D models for the environments and 2D sprites for characters, you can also make amazing looking games with a highly stylized look, and of course also games that look almost photorealistic. As opposed to many other game engines that just give you an almost blank canvas, Unreal comes with many things set up by default that make your game look great the second you start your project, and it already gives you near final visuals right from the get go. This enables you to prototype quickly, stay motivated, and be able to share content on social media early on. But you can, of course, deactivate features you don't need to optimize performance based on what makes sense with your particular project. Lumen and Nanite brought a huge paradigm shift with Unreal Engine 5, and while there were some growing pains, at this point both of these features have matured a lot, creating stunning visuals and a much quicker workflow than manually baking lights and setting up many different LODs for your models. Especially when making realistic looking games and utilizing the Quixel Megascan library, these features can be of help and have been used to great effect by indie studios as well, but you do definitely want to be a bit careful with these, and depending on the type of game you're making, you might be better off sticking with more traditional workflows to optimize the performance of your game. Speaking of performance, Unreal comes with scalability settings that not only allow you to work on your project even if you have a less powerful machine, but they also enable you to adapt your project when shipping to weaker hardware to utilize Unreal's great cross platform support. So, again, combining the great editor tools with the visual fidelity Unreal gives us right out of the box makes it really easy to get started on the important parts of your game right away. And that brings us to the last topic, which is programming in Unreal Engine. Now, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I mostly teach programming with Blueprint visual scripting, and the main reason is that it makes programming games so much more accessible because you don't have to worry about typos, dealing with complicated IDEs, and you won't have to bang your head against the wall setting up the C++ environment in the first place. Blueprints also allow for a blazing fast iteration speed because they compile almost instantly, enabling you to test what you just implemented in just a few seconds. And that creates this very quick feedback loop, which will keep you in the flow state. While there are certain parts of the engine that are only accessible through C++, the majority of games you'll create as an indie actually don't need C++, and hundreds, if not thousands, of titles you see on Steam have been created either with 100% blueprints or at least the vast majority of the implementation having been done in blueprints. Despite that, there actually are benefits of also using C++, and implementing certain parts of your game in C++ is something you can work towards while growing as a developer. Since blueprints don't get compiled down to machine code but run through a virtual machine, there is a performance overhead, and while this doesn't make a big difference for most games, there are certain genres or game systems that might require more control and faster code execution, which can be achieved with C++. Another great thing about Unreal is that the entire source code can not just be viewed on GitHub, but also comes with your Unreal Engine download, making it easy for you to look through the actual code to really understand what happens behind the scenes so you can apply optimizations or understand why certain bugs might be happening. And you're even able to change the source code or add new features on top of it, however, that is quite the advanced topic requiring a high level of expertise. To save on time, you can also create many reusable packages with Unreal, both using blueprints and C++. Something that I've been doing a lot is creating different templates that are a huge time saver when setting up new projects. In a similar way, you can also create certain game systems as plugins, allowing you to use them throughout multiple of your games or also sell them on the Fab Marketplace to make a bit of a side income. If we now consider the points I've talked about, I think what stands out the most about Unreal Engine really is the blazing fast iteration speed. While this is something that often gets overlooked in favor of photorealistic graphics and other cutting edge features, getting things done quickly is absolutely necessary to be able to survive as an indie dev, and being able to go through more loops of iteration quicker while staying in a flow state will lead to a much better product in the end. I hope this video cleared up some common misconceptions and gave you some insight on which parts of Unreal actually help you achieve your goals as an indie developer. Dive into Indie Games Week and click the link in the description of this video to discover inspiring indie dev interviews, exciting live streams, and Unreal Engine tools built to supercharge your development. As always, a huge thanks to my awesome patrons and YouTube channel members.